Well, it is halftime, and we are doing the halftime show. We could just do the post-game show right now because this game is
Yeah.
over. I listen. I know that teams have come back from 20, and we've seen it a lot, but this game's over. 64-42. The Thunder are toying with Sacramento. 3 games in 4 nights. No Malik Monk. Listen, I'm not trying to make excuses here. It is what it is. This is just a very lopsided contest, Jerry.
Yeah, it's a case of one team being a lot better than the other. I think the only question I have is what's which is worse for the Kings, their defense or their offense?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
seriously. I
hey, Jerry, you've come up with a lot of beauties in the past, but I think this is the first time I've heard that one. Which one? We're just trying to figure out which one is worse, the Kings defense or the Kings offense.
We have a talking point.
Ryan, I'll let you go first. Do you think the Kings defense or their offense was worse than that first half?
It's 100% the offense. The Thunder turned the ball over 7 times, a
I know.
season high in the first quarter. They only usually turn it over 11.8 a game, guys, and the Kings were still down 10 points. SGA had
Oh,
5 turnovers, Jerry.
yeah, no, that was. I mean, that's maybe the worst quarter you've seen SGA play all year. Truthfully,
Yes.
right.
of course, and like I say, they had a solid lead, which you knew was not a good sign. And then, of course, he does what he does. I mean, the guy's a great player, no question. But it's just so
Jerry,
much fun. It's so much. If it wasn't the fact that you're getting your butt beat, it'd be fun. It's fun to watch a team play
yeah,
together like that on both ends. I mean, defensively, they are really connected.
Yeah.
And
yes, they are.
the caliber of shots that the Kings have gotten compared to the caliber of shots,
Oh God.
it's a totally different thing.
Jerry, I want to ask you really quickly about something Greg Anthony said. I thought it was one of the most brilliant observations I've heard about this Sacramento team. They were talking about the lack of having a point guard, number one. But to quote him, he said, your best player in Sabonis isn't a primary scorer. So he does not draw a ton of attention, which therefore is the big problem with this Kings offense.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, obviously that isn't Domas's game, but of course they've taken him totally out of whatever game he has tonight, like everybody else. But I mean, when you have that situation, you have to have a lot of cutting and movement. Uh, there's nobody else really that's drawing a lot of double teams either. Uh, so it's a case of where if Domas isn't drawing a double, well, that means everybody else is one on one, and so
Yeah.
you're not going to be open just because if you're standing there. And I think we're seeing a lot of that. But I mean, Greg Anthony, by the way, I love him. I mean,
I do too. He's great.
he just simply cuts to the chase and calls the game. And
Yep. I'm going to borrow Jerry's line that he told me years ago, about 15 minutes before tip-off at the end of a season. And he said, you know what our most important job is, right? I said, what's that? And Jerry said, to convince the fans they're not seeing what they're seeing. All right. So that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to convince you.
I
that you're not
I
seeing
don't think we
what you're
can.
seeing.
So sometimes you've got a chance, but so far this half, that I don't believe anybody can convince the fans that they know what they're seeing tonight.
Oh my God. 4 free throws for the Kings in that first half. Wow. I mean, they got to the line 4 times.
Jerry, would you have liked to have seen the Kings adjust to the double big lineup, considering Oklahoma City had one out there?
I would have. I mean, I think it's worth a try. Clearly, what you were doing wasn't working. At least, do that and maybe in just straight zone, because the man wasn't working either. But I think the 2 bigs in the zone, you might create a little bit of an issue.
News about the Kings assistant general manager, Wes Wilcox, out the door to go to Utah. I don't know if the deal's done yet. I don't recall in the middle of a season an assistant coach like Luke Locks, who went to Florida State, and now the assistant general manager leaving in the middle of the season. Is this unusual, Jerry?
Very unusual. I can't recall a situation quite like this, especially, for NBA guys to go to college. That in itself is very rare. And, obviously you have to think, are they kind of beating a posse out of town?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit of a red flag. College, the landscape of college basketball is a lot different than it used to be. It's almost like a professional league now with NIL and everything else. I mean, it is a little different, but you're right, Jerry. You don't normally see individuals leaving the NBA to go to college. The aspirations when you're in college is to get to the NBA, not the other way around.
Well,
Yeah, it's very surprising, and like I say, as you point out, I mean, it's a very different world now in college, which is it's professional now in just about every
Yeah.
sense. So, but it's college, it's not the NBA.
I think that's the only asterisk is the fact that landscape has changed, because remember, Wes Wilcox was under the executive of the year 2 years ago. You would think Wes Wilcox would be able to get an interview somewhere else in the NBA, maybe a possible GM job, a look, but to have to revert back to college. Is it the Kings stink, guys, that we keep talking about?
Well, you do know that Wes was a GM at Atlanta for a while.
Yeah, a couple of years, 2 years, I think.
He leave. Yeah, he lost his job there, so he certainly had a lot of experience. So, but I'm pretty convinced that it would be difficult. I don't think anything he could count on getting a GM job in the league, if even one opens, which there are currently none open.
The reason why I bring this up is Sam Amick, I believe it was Sam, in The Athletic, around the De'Aaron Fox trade, wrote an excerpt, and I'm paraphrasing, insinuating that Wes Wilcox was doing a lot more in terms of what was going on behind the scenes with the Kings, making inference that, maybe Monty's not in step with Vivek and that things are a little rough there. And that's why I bring this up. I said this a couple of weeks ago, and I'll say it again. I think there's going to be a whole new ball game this summer in the front office and the coaching staff. That's my feeling. I think you're going to have a new general manager. I think you're going to have a new head coach and a new coaching staff. And I'm not rooting for that. I'm just telling you that I think that's what's going to happen.
Too, on that point, I was talking to with Kings Herald guys, and we were discussing that, talking about is kind of a co-general manager thing. Well, I said, well, to me, that's like having two quarterbacks. If you got two quarterbacks, you don't have any.
Yep.
You have to, in other words, certainly there wasn't any question who was running the team when I was a director of player personnel of the Kings. Was Jeff Petrie. It wasn't Wayne Cooper. It wasn't me. It wasn't any, and certainly we were happy that way. But that's the way it has to be. We
know who's running the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's one guy. Okay.
It's one guy. It's Sam
That's right.
Presti, and we know that Pat Riley's running the Miami Heat, and that's just that. Well, anyway, that did strike me a little bit funny there.
So, Jerry, you picking up the phone if the Kings call?
No. No. I mean, I'd pick up the phone and say, how you doing?
Sure.
And make sure my retirement's still coming,
Well, all right. I hate to do this. We have to predict the final score. I'll go first today. I think the Thunder are going to win this game 131-92.
Okay, I'll go 128 Thunder, Kings 105.
Wow, you think the Kings are going to have an offensive onslaught in the second half?
Well, as you know, if the game is out of control, the points on the losing team really becomes meaningless.
Yes, that's true. That is true.
So that's.
I'm going to say 136-99.
So we're looking at 2 games in a row where both of us, not Jerry, think that the Kings won't score 100. Yeah, do they miss Malik Monk? Yes, obviously, but maybe the score is a little bit closer. But this team, the Thunder, they're the real freaking deal, and they got a legitimate chance to represent the West in the finals this year.
Well, they sure do, and and obviously their second best offensive player is not playing tonight.
That's
too.
yeah. We should. Yeah, that's right.
kind of remember that, but yeah, the stat they put up during the broadcast, to where the win margin is higher than any team in the history of the league, and that's talking about some awfully great teams, and so. But it's also true for them, just like any team in their role, as good as they are, they got to win the championship. It's all about the playoffs now, because they've proven their greatness in the regular season.
The only good news is the Mavericks lost, Ryan, to the Knicks tonight. So at least the Kings won't be behind the Mavericks at the end of the night.
Yep, that got wrapped up before this one started. And keep everybody healthy. How do you play this, guys, if you're Coach Christie? Because you do have you play 3 and 4 nights.
Well, I think clearly if unless there's a major run to give some kind of hope and excitement to the game, I think you're going to start, and as well he should, there's no reason to let the starters be in there for easy garbage points at the end.
Well, I would do the same thing, but I don't know what so that means Jay Crowder, Trey Lyles, right? Let's go see Isaac Jones. Let's see what he's got. I don't know if Devin Carter is going to play that much. I mean, he only played 3 minutes and he's been sick, so I don't know what his status is, but we'll see. Well, you know what, Jerry? I've got good news for you. All right. The good news is you will not have to join us. You don't join us on the postgame show. And I don't think you'd want to be on the postgame show tonight. So, consider yourself a lucky man.
I do. I really will. And I can promise you, before you guys go on, I would have already popped my popcorn.
On that note, we'll see everyone after the game. Hey, you know what? I'll leave you with this. You just never know. You just never know. Jerry, we did a 35-point comeback halfway through the third quarter, but the other team didn't have Shea Alexander on the team.
And that's why I always say, I mean, nothing would surprise me after that, but I don't
still get the butt.
I don't believe this is the night, but that was.
I don't either. All right, everyone. We'll talk to you. I'm sorry. There's nothing else you can do about this other than laugh at the moment. 64-42. We'll talk to you after the game. Bye-bye now.
See you guys.